The pirates. So before we continue, agenda begins as a series of squirming growls cuts off Moira's explanation. How about something to eat? Little Willow's already eaten damn near half her body weight. I'll wager that you can at least match that. Yes, thank you. Which way? Follow me? Agenda says, dropping to all fours and leading her out of the room. By the way, you've done it by instinct. Done what? The just a grunt routine. I've played it a few times myself, almost always before I was a captain. It's good to know that even in the times of antiquity that it was still rock solid. Agenda notes, it's easier than trying to put up with everyone dancing around to try and prevent leaks when you're not interested in leaking at all. Or for them to try and explain everything to you when you really don't care, Moira says. Right, you don't need an entire billboard of degrees and certificates to understand things, or even just remember them to look up later. Agenda says, remembering her own time before she took control of a ship, or in the early years when she would go from ship to ship in pirate ports to try and learn and figure out how to take full control of her life and future. It was a long, grueling task that had a lot of backsliding and sometimes years of hard work for nothing. But she had learned and grown stronger, with nothing official to even hint at her power, until she staged a mutiny and took a ship. The captain, command crew, quartermaster, and the die-hard loyalists had all died to a single plasma bomb, the shrapnel having taken out the Canador. The second time she had to stage a mutiny, there was a great deal less luck involved for taking out the whole group at once. The third time was the time things finally stuck, and she had finally learned all the leadership abilities to keep a crew loyal. That crew was still with her now. Yes, I've got 8 sets of ears. Sure, everyone remembers that a Lidris can be very smart with 8 brains, or incredibly powerful with 8 sets of hands to shoot from, and a nearly unstoppable lower body. But I have 8 sets of ears and eyes as well. I can remember, I can learn. And I did. Moira explains, I convinced them all that I was only interested in doing my job and getting paid, and they started talking around me. Really? You were mentioning the names of the doctors. Who else was there beyond Finil, the biologist? Professor Madrigal. She wasn't involved in the project itself, but was the programmer for all the computer programs. She hated being in the base and often ranted long and hard about it. Moira says with a grin, I wonder what happened to her. Something we can look up, Agenda says before taking a left turn. It'll be a bit of a squeeze, but through this portal is our main compound. You really have moved in, Moira notes as she slinks through the portal. Who knows where she is on the planet now? There was enough power in there that she could be in orbit for all she knows. We have. Vuxa is technically frontier space and not wild space anymore. So, what kind of world is Vuxa? Well, geographically, it likely hasn't changed much. Many collections of fertile islands with numerous seams of different metals and all sorts of good fishing. The islands bits I knew about, but not that they were so fertile or the minerals. But you knew about the fish, Agenda pokes. Something had to have been feeding the giant snakes, either now or long ago. Which means there was likely a lot to be had, Moira considers. Also, I swam out during my time off and grabbed more than a few hauls of fish. Tasty stuff. Your daughter certainly thinks so. If she has a choice between fish and anything else, she'll take the fish each time. Agenda agrees. Actually, I could really use that silver darter type. They were fast little buggers, but really good. I'm not sure, but Agenda begins before checking her communicator. Oh, it's time. For what? The men like to eat all at once. It's kind of insane, though. Agenda explains as she opens a large set of double doors, and it shows a large room with numerous tables and chairs. It's bursting with sound and conversation with numerous groups of people, all talking and eating together. There's a pause, though, as Moira and Agenda enter, and Agenda just scoffs. Back to your food, you dummies. You've seen me before, you've seen her before, you've seen me recruit before. What's the interesting bit? Her warning goes off well and everyone goes back to what they were doing. Despite the tables and chairs being well made, this is clearly a massive mess hall. Moira is led to several tables being constantly refilled with food, and each of all 8 of Moira's bodies grabs a heaping platter to feast from. Her lower body outright lies down and her secondary ones take up an entire side of a table, with Agenda just opposite of her. Now that Agenda begins before Franklin rushes up again and places a new version of the Tri-Tight and Kutha wire amulet on the table next to her. He then starts to leave and Agenda grabs him by the back of the shirt and pulls him back before picking up the amulet to examine it. The entire thing is inside a clear crystal and has rounded edges to turn it into a solid disc. So what's it made of? Quartz, polished quartz, Franklin replies as he looks up from his communicator. What is so interesting? Agenda demands of him as she grabs the object, and she blinks after reading what's on screen. Oh, okay. What is it? Moira asks. The disbanding of the Unrelenting Legion. Your former employers were caught up in a scandal shortly after Vuxa was properly founded and declared a rogue organization. The higher-ups were arrested or hunted down if they ran, and the forces disbanded to return to civilian life or be absorbed into local militias or armies. Agenda explains as she reads it out. What was it they were arrested for? Moira asks, and Agenda flicks the page to see, and her eyebrows go up. I'll just come back for it later. I'm done with people for a while, Franklin says before vanishing in a powerful twist of axiom. What? Moira asks. He's someone who struggles with social things, hypersensitivity and obsession. He balances it well, but it exhausts him, so he goes to rest. Agenda explains and Moira blinks a bit as she processes that. Okay, so what happened to the Unrelenting Legion? They kept doing the shit that they did to you and eventually they got caught. Everyone who wasn't a dumb grunt had their reputation roasted alive and apparently a few of them died resisting arrest. Agenda explains, throwing up some air quotes, and Moira considers. Doctors Fennell, Ariata, Gallagher, and Professors Madrigal and Jaleka. Are they? Fennell is one we personally saw too. Something caused her to snap and go feral, losing herself and becoming a local legend before Franklin. The same one that just vanished killed her. Something? We have an apparent confession from her where she apparently cured her prime mind condition and used a healing coma to more or less commit suicide, with killing herself due to the guilt of what she did. It looks like a massive setup, to be honest. It sounds like Jaleka's work. She was nowhere near quiet enough for me to miss her sheer disdain for Lesser Lidris. Lesser? Professor Jaleka was a genealogist that had very harsh opinions on people with inherited disorders. She was also the definition of petty and dismissive. If there's a list of suspects for a frame-up of someone with prime mind, then she's near the top of it. Moira explains before switching heads. One that finished the fish well before the others dabs at her lips and smiles. I see, and did you share any of those opinions? Agenda asks. No, Fennell was a monster, but not because of prime mind. And what is your opinion on other races with issues? Say Franklin or, I don't know, a Nagasha Jingai? Jingai. Jingai. It translates to kind of stupid. The name became a cultural touchstone before people were all that sensitive about such things. Agenda explains. Right, the slow in the head Nagasha. Moira realizes, then shrugs. Unless they start having a problem with me or making problems for me, then I see no reason to have a problem with them. Take it from a guardswoman and assault specialist. You're going to have enough problems on the job without making more of them. Good, because not only is Franklin married to my sworn sister and head engineer, but I have a Jingai for my sister wife. Relax. I know better than to torment the pack of a Lopen. Good, Agenda says as her unconsciously rising hackles start to lower. She then jumps a little as there's a massive rush of axiom, and suddenly a large container is sitting on the chair next to her. She sniffs at it and rolls her eyes as she catches Franklin's scent. She then opens it and finds dozens of the same amulet he had just given to her. Are those, Moira asks, enough for you and pretty much everyone that little Willow will come in contact with? Yes. I thought he was exhausted and going to nap or something. He was exhausted with people, not with working or getting things done. We won't see him, but he's making progress. Agenda says before the axiom around them starts to poke, prod, and feel its way around before gathering around Franklin's communicator. Then there's a rush of it, and it's simply gone. How good is he exactly? He knows exactly how hard he can push axiom without it turning into null. He also can teleport entire defense satellites into stable orbit. Agenda says and waits a moment. Of other planets in system. 3 of Moira's bodies start choking at that, and several more struggle to get her back to breathing properly. He can teleport between worlds? He claims to be effective within 5 light hours. Moira is at a loss for words. That most jurisdictions aren't expected to be effective at that range. And he can teleport a strike squad, bomb or grab someone at that distance, Agenda says. But he needs the coordinates. Moira says to reassure herself. And the math, Agenda says. He's not perfect. If he has to calculate himself, then he can't hit a moving target before the calculation is rendered moot. Okay, so the immensely dangerous adept needs to see you or have someone else spot you. Great comfort, and so Moira mutters. He's on our side. Our side? Our, Moira asks. Well, that's what I'm here to talk you into, Agenda says, and Moira just gives her a look. I just want to be safe. I woke up to a nightmare and I'm holding it off, but need to scream. I need to break things, I need to do something, but none of that will help, and Moira trails off and Agenda is only nodding. Everyone here has either gone through hell or has seen someone go through it, Agenda says. The worst you'll get for that is some sass. Moira looks over Agenda to the crowds and sees everyone. Her gaze focuses on the men. Yes, them too. Were you being honest? Are they really from cruel space? Moira asks. They are. Is it well named? Seems to be. No healing comas, no unending power. Even small feats of strength need machinery or insane amounts of training to get it done. Everything you own slowly coming apart without preservation markings and more, Agenda says before shrugging. Frontier world or not, Vuxa 5 is an outright paradise compared to any cruel space system. Moira remarks before rising up. She trails off as she comes into conflict with herself. There's so much to do. What's the priority? She spots the protective amulets and makes up her mind. She grabs the one next to Agenda and reaches over for the others. I need to see my child, Liu Shu, Willow, or however you pronounce the first bit. I need to see her. All right, that's easy enough, Agenda says, grabbing the box and putting on an amulet herself. Let's test Franklin's new toy. If it works, we're fine. If not, we're dead. Time to see the deadliest toddler on the planet.